Okay.
And I do not mean this in a sacrilege way at all, because I actually, as you know, Jamie, I love this director's last film. It was on my top 10 list. But I read comments. I do go online from time to time. I'm not online, thankfully, as much as I used to. But has Steven Spielberg lost some of his mojo?
There is a major backlash against Steven Spielberg. It's been kind of cropping up in the past year and a half, 2 years, I've found, where the critical intelligentsia, whatever that is, they have come up and they have said, all that sentimentalized sensitivity, overblown wonderment, it's so piss poor and so overpraised. It's just effect. There's nothing truthful about it. That's kind of the writing for a certain Spielberg criticism now, the slant that writing is taking. Now, I don't agree with that, and I think
I don't agree with that at all. I don't agree with that at all.
Some of the most daring stuff in his career just in the past decade, 15 years. I mean, Munich is not the work of a man that the master of escapism, which
right.
he is. He is the undisputed master of escapism, based on previous movies, not based on Crystal Skull. I think maybe he's lost his feeling for escapism, or I think he wants to go deeper.
Yeah, because I want to bring that up because I think Crystal Skull and what was the animated movie he made along with War Horse. I can't even remember the goddamn title. I like War Horse because I think War Horse, it does have some of that sentimentality, but it also deals with very serious things as well. I thought War Horse was very well done. Obviously, I think Munich is excellent. I think War of the Worlds is much better than people give it credit for. I don't think he's lost it. I think with Lincoln, I think there is the thing that I was referring to is, I guess, because it's come out that he is very partisan and he had helped the Obama campaign with something, and I was reading the comments in this one thread, and they really went after him. And I know I shouldn't read the comments. I was addressed about this last week. I shouldn't read the comments, but I did. This was a couple of months ago. And they really went after him. And I was looking at the last couple. So, Tintin and Crystal Skull, I wouldn't write home out with it. But everything else, I can definitely say, they're really masterful films.
And Tintin I did not like. The one thing I did like was the visualization. I liked the direction of it. But I think it's just another example in terms of that, the comments that you read of people not being able to separate politics from, creative achievement, which I could give a crap what his politics are. If he makes good movies, I'm going to respond to them. But he did have a lull for a little while, but he's changing, I feel. He's not the Spielberg that made E.T. and Close Encounters.
That's not going to come back. I don't think that's ever good, and nor should it come back in that sense. I mean,
he's evolving as a filmmaker, and he's showing different sides of his palette, and he's trying different things. We don't want to just see E.T. and Jaws for 30, 40 years out of the guy.
Mm-hmm. You're absolutely right.
He, Minority Report and War of the Worlds are two very dark movies.
AI is a dark movie for that matter.
Absolutely, I do see Minority Report as kind of a bridging between the exciting escapist fare and the darker stuff that he does.
You're right.
In a single movie. I think he's an interesting filmmaker, and first of all, his composition is impeccable. He's still got all the visual gifts that he always had. You can talk about cinemalization and if that's worthy or not, but E.T. is just a positive, life-affirming movie, but at the same time, it's pretty honest about, at that time, the divorced suburban family. I mean, it's not an idealized family. I mean, she's divorced. Right. She's grief-stricken about her husband and having to raise her kids alone, and one of her kids has these problems in school, and she feels kind of overwhelmed. I mean, it's honest about that, I think.
Right.
That's the major thing. I mean, he even when he made escapist entertainment, I think he was always honest. I didn't see any dishonesty in his movies, except for the end. I see the ending of War of the Worlds as more dishonest than anything in E.T.
Well, just because their street is intact. I mean, their street has electricity. Wait, I mean, guys, what the tripod say, hey, we'll leave the street alone? I mean, what the hell? I mean, come on.
Yeah, but that really felt like a descent into hell for that movie. And then the robots are taken down by, a form of a common cold, which is neat. I mean, that's fine.
Well, that's in the original, too, though, in one sense, bacteria. That's not, but it's just that I would have actually liked if it ended, and this is a horrible thing to say, this just shows you my mentality. I'm a big fan of the movie, but if it had ended where, that scene where they're marching along before the final confrontation with the tripod where he says, hey, you can do this, I wouldn't have minded that because you were so beaten down. It makes sense. Okay, you're going to end this on a down note. Okay. Well,
it tied it up with a little neat bow in a way that did feel antithetical to the rest of the movie.
Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, I'll give everyone that.
But you could have done it any other way. I mean, come on, this is a $200 million movie with Tom Cruise. it's like,
and he's great
and the
in
kid
it, by the way.
Goodbye, everybody. Yeah.
He's awesome in the movie, by the way. I love his performance in that movie. I mean,
yeah, he is very good. But you're right. There has been a major cooling off in terms of the overpraise of Spielberg.
I think it's because so many film goers, when you do something that is successful, they want you to do that over and over and over again. And when you do something that they're not accustomed to, or something that's a little more personal, or something that's a little outside the box, I think they don't know how to handle a filmmaker doing something different. Because they're like, oh, you're already doing this film. If you've made this film before, you want to make this kind of film. So I think a lot of times the general film public wants you to do what you've always been doing, where as a creative artist, you want to expand your horizons and you want to paint with different paintbrushes and you want to show off different sides of your directing talents, and animated or, something like War Horse or Munich, he has so many other ideas than what people just want him to do.
And I think, I just rewatched Jaws on the Blu-ray, and this gorgeous transfer and or restoration of that movie, and I mean, it's an undeniably solid adventure. I mean, it's something Jack London could have written.
Absolutely,
that kind of rousing adventure at sea movie, and it's expertly done, and it knows what it is. E.T., Close Encounters, they know what they are.
Right.
They're not trying to solve hunger, or they don't have loftier ambitions beyond their opening frame and their ending frame. It's. And I think he does a certain style of movie better than anyone, and when he ventures off into different territory, it's always interesting to me. Sometimes they're mixed results. I mean, Amistad is a bore for me, personally. But Munich has really powerful moments in it. Schindler's List is a masterpiece.
Yeah, Schindler's List is the other one that's just like, is a very, one of the darkest films, and Munich is very much so too, and Saving Private Ryan, for that matter, is a very dark film. They're all three of those are, and Empire of the Sun and The Color Purple, for that matter.
And I adore that I adore Empire of the Sun.
Empire of the Sun, it's very important. It's a very important film, and it's very interesting. It didn't get I don't think that ever got the praise it deserved when it came out. I think it always got lost in the shuffle because of The Last Emperor. It got lost in that, but it's The Empire of the Sun is a magnificent, just visually, magnificent movie. But that says a lot right there. That's a different take on World War II than anything I think that we had seen before in a major movie.
Yeah, and it's a perfect bridging of his takes on adolescence, and just as Jim in that movie goes from an adolescent to a grown man, just in the course of his time spent on camp. So did Spielberg, I think, as a filmmaker. I see that kind of transition happening with Empire of the Sun. But here's another thing. Here's probably the final word on this. It's something that we expressed with Tony Scott the other week when we did the show on him. It's that intellectual snobism. He's too popular. He's too popular. Escapism cannot be worthy of admiration, Everything's got to be, some kind of auteurist, it has to be art. It has to stink of art for a lot of people to take it seriously.
I think we're all blessed to have these great filmmakers like a Scorsese or a Spielberg or Oliver Stone. There isn't that many great directors left. So when I see a Spielberg film, I know that it's going to be very well made, very interesting, and something worth my time. I might not like it, but I know that.
Right, but you know it's worth it's worth watching.
Exactly.
Two of my favorite directors are Stanley Kubrick and Brian De Palma. I mean, one of them exercises my mind, and De Palma just gets me kind of intoxicated on the joy of the cinematic. You know,
right.
It's pure pleasure, a De Palma film for me. And then I'm challenged in a completely different way and rewarded in a different way by a Kubrick film. There's room for everything. And by the way, I think there's incredible artistic merit in those earlier escapist Spielberg movies.
Oh, so definitely.